Welcome to Bowling Showcase, the only show to bring you everything bowling in the bowling capital of the world, Metro Detroit. I'm your host, Mark Martin. You're going to see some great bowling in this show. We'll cover the MD USBC Masters and Senior Masters today. These are two long-standing events with the association, with the Masters around since 1964 and the Senior Masters since 1993. Now we'll find out what's happening here at our host center Thunderbolt, including the recent renovations here in the arena and our TurboTech Driven to Bowl segment. So let's check out the MD USBC Masters at Astro Lanes in Madison Heights right here on Bowling Showcase. Ryan Van Hecke of Chesterfield remained in the winner's bracket and beat that two-time defending champion Justin Knowles of Okemos 475-402 in the final two-game match to win the Metro Detroit USBC Masters at Astro Lanes in Madison Heights. Van Hecke qualified 7th with a 6-game total of 1254. In match play, he beat Dan Jordan of Livonia 437-363. 2013 Masters champion Jeff Roach of Dearborn 418-374. Frank Snodgrass of Centerline 444-412. He then beat Knowles the first time 429-377 to remain the lone survivor in the winner's bracket. Defending champion Knowles was seeded 9th by tournament rule, qualifying with 1207. In match play, he defeated James Koss of Brighton 418-309. Harry Sullins of Chesterfield 437-351. 2015 Masters champion Corey Miller of Waterford 414-381. And reigning Michigan State Masters champion Nick Cooper of Flint 567-358 before falling to Van Hecke the first time 429-377. In the first match of the finals, Knowles got the best of Van Hecke by continuing his strong bowling and winning the match 512-372. But in this two-loss elimination format, Knowles would have to beat Van Hecke in another two-game match to become the first ever three-peat Masters champion. But it was not to be. Once the players moved to another pair of lanes, Van Hecke began with 7 consecutive strikes. Van Hecke stormed out to a 106-pin lead after one game, 249-143, and never looked back, winning the 2020 MD USBC Masters Championship.
We drew the first pair, 37-38, and the right just wasn't playing as good as it was the rest of the day. There was a lot of hook right in the front, and it was difficult to overcome that. So when we ended up moving down 41-42, I just kept an open mind and knowing that most likely it was going to be a little bit different, and thankfully there was definitely a little bit more head oil, so it gave me the opportunity to roll through it and have good reaction on the back. Yes, it feels great. It feels really good to get to the winner's circle.
Congratulations to Ryan Van Hecke on a great win by unseating the two-time defending champion, Justin Knowles, and finally getting the title. So let's take a look at some upcoming events that you can participate in. The annual Women's and Open Championship Tournament, commonly known as the City Tournament, kicks off February 8th at Woodhaven Bowl-O-Rama in Woodhaven. Action continues every weekend through March 9th. This low-cost handicap and scratch tournament is popular and open to all MD USBC members. Not only is it fun, it's competitive, and you could win money and a title. What more can you ask for? Don't miss out on this favorite tournament. The MD USBC Women's and Men's Series season may be winding down, but there's still much competition to be had. The next event is March 8th at Sterling Lanes in Sterling Heights. Come join in the fun and competition of this long-running series. Get a group of bowlers 55 years of age and older together for the always fun-filled MD USBC Senior Team Tournament. This year's event is at Sterling Lanes in Sterling Heights beginning on March 14th. Only $20 per person gets you 3 games of handicap competition with a first prize of $1,000 on the line. Get your senior friends together for a good time, and maybe you could bring home the championship. Here's some upcoming events at Thunder Bowl that you'll be interested in. Call the MD USBC office at 248-443-2695, extension 105 for more information, or visit mdusbc.com. Time for a quick commercial break. Time to pay some bills. Stick around. We'll be back with Thunder Bowl proprietor Tom Strobel here on Bowling Showcase. The Michigan State USBC provides tournament competition and recognition for men, women, and youth bowlers in Michigan. The adult championship events for this season include the Open Championship, starting in January at Mary Bowl in Livonia and Westland Bowl in Westland, and the Women's Championship, starting in February at Northway Lanes and Sherman Bowling Center in Muskegon. Visit MichiganStateUSBC.com for entry blanks and more information on the Michigan State USBC.
We've won a lot of professional tournaments. We've won a lot of tournaments worldwide. I mean, we won more in the last 10 years worldwide than any company. We make good bowling balls, and good players use our bowling balls because they can win with them.
So I'm here with Tom Strobel, the proprietor of Thunder Bowl Lanes. Tom, first off, I want to thank you on behalf of the show for being our host all year.
You're very welcome. We're glad to do it.
So your family has been involved in the bowling business since you were just a young fry, right?
My family's been in the business continuously since 1942. My father was entrepreneurial, if you put it that way. He had a paper route, and he kept expanding it. He had kids that ran off of the runners that the cars had, or the side stepping areas, and so he accumulated enough money to build what is now known as Ramona Lanes. It's at 6 Mile and Gratiot. It was a 17-lane house, and believe it or not, I took a streetcar there from where we lived at Gratiot Otter Drive, and all through grade school and high school, my brother Jim and I worked there. And we started out hanging clothes or coats as people came in, finally graduated to emptying ashtrays and cleaning the lavatory. So, I mean, we did it all. But that's how we got started. And my dad had Ramona Lanes, and then he bought Royal Lanes. It was really war years, and business was very good. And Royal was at Warren and Alter.
Okay.
And lo and behold, he's got 3 young boys, and he gets called into service.
Oh, geez.
So he's off to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, training to go to Japan. And so my mother is left with these 2 facilities, and
raising you boys.
And raising us guys, yeah. And so my grandfather, who was a barber, came from Germany, but he worked down in the Broadway market. He left the barbering business and got into the bowling business.
Okay.
My dad comes back from the service, and he never went back in the bowling business, and my grandfather never left. So when I was young, growing up, I always worked through my grandfather, who was a great, great mentor. He did such a good job. If you can believe this, on 17 lanes. We would have 40 reservations on a Sunday.
Nice.
And the place was immaculate, just spotless. And
Well,
that was his philosophy.
He gave you good genes as to how to run a bowling center, and then obviously then you and your brothers then kind of picked it up from there, right?
So we, in 1997, bought Thunderbolt.
But such a big place, how do you fill it up?
That's the
$1 million question.
$1 million question. You're right. You're right. Well, I think first of all, Mark, you have to recognize, and I don't have to tell you, bowling is changing from a league-based system really to a combination, and we have to take care of all these different customer bases.
Absolutely.
And league is so important to us, so we work on that very hard to give them the best experience that they can have. Now, if I could just go through, in our Cosmic Bay, we put a screen in, we have sound, we have a really good base for birthday parties. We just put an embed system as a card reading for our video games.
Okay.
And we're getting great traction on that. It's an area that we keep open during the week, and it's almost full every night here.
That's excellent.
And it's the first place that people go if they're coming in for open bowling. We just love it down there. So then, if you took the main bay here, we really attempt to fill it up with tournament
Right.
fundraisers, those type of events.
Absolutely.
And you probably aren't going to say, well, what are you thinking about? We're going to actually start promoting some weddings here.
Okay.
We got the kitchen that can do it.
We got the space.
We got the space.
Right.
And we got a loft up here with pool tables and everything, and we got this space. And we've done 2 already, and it's not somebody that's going to go to a country club,
Right.
but there's an awful lot of people that are looking for a venue as opposed to just
Going to a hall.
Four-wall hall.
Yeah.
And so we can be very competitive with that.
Absolutely.
So we're starting to work with some party planners. You got to be doing all these things.
Absolutely.
And if you just rely on your league bowling and maybe a few parties here and there, it's not going to work. You got to be promoting everything.
That's right.
And that's what Vicky's so good at. She's a great marketer.
She is. Well, Tom, thank you very much once again for all your support of Bowling Showcase and the association over all these years. Your long, rich history in bowling is fantastic. We loved hearing about it, and thank you very much.
Great. My pleasure.
Thanks, Tom, for the history lesson. We're excited that Thunderbolt will host the NCAA Women's Bowling Finals in April, with the TV finals right here in the arena on Saturday, April 11th. Check thunderbolt.org for ticket information. Now it's time to sharpen your game with TurboTech, driven to bowl on Bowling Showcase.
Hi everybody, Carolyn Doran Ballard here. We are at the TurboTech training facility in Chesterfield, Michigan. Alongside me is PBA champion Andrew Anderson.
She's too nice. She's also a USBC Hall of Famer and a WBA champion many times. But today we have a really good coaching tip for you guys, getting tournament ready. That means a lot of different things, not only when it comes to practice, but mentally and physically being ready, but also having all the equipment you need when it comes to bowling balls and the tools that go into the bowling ball, and on your hand for that matter.
And it's amazing because I think everyone, league bowlers, high school bowlers, college, pro, it doesn't matter, always put more emphasis on the bowling balls than they do on their goodie bag that we're going to talk about here in a minute. But when you do get ready to choose those bowling balls, make sure that you have a variety. Some of the tournaments you'll be attending, such as Andrew for the US Open, you'll be limited to the amount of balls you might be able to take or use. Something you must have in your bag, number 1, are Abralon pads. These Abralon pads will allow you to change the surface of the bowling ball right on spot.
Yes, can I see these real quick? A lot of reason for these. 1, you can change it on the spot, but not all of us have a bunch of bowling balls at every event. When I only have a limit, if I have a limit of 6 bowling balls, with Abralon pads, I feel like I can make those 6 bowling balls into 12, 18 bowling balls if used properly. These things change a lot of the ball motion that you see.
Which is another great practice tip. Make sure you change surfaces at home while you're practicing before your event.
Start noticing the differences that you get out of each surface.
Exactly. The second thing that I go to is my turbo accessory bag. The very first thing I have numerous switch grips, different colors. The reason I have switch grips, because I travel all over the country. I bowl in Texas, my thumb swells. I want one that's a little bit larger. I bowl in New Jersey, it's a little bit cooler. So I need a switch grip that is a little bit smaller so I don't have that, you know, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as I change from bowling ball to bowling ball, I have a consistent feel.
Yeah, so again, not everyone has switch grips, and we understand that. But when you don't have switch grips, it's even more important to have fitting tape. Not only the fitting tape that goes into the ball, but the skin protection that we'll get into in a second. But fitting tape, you have to be able to be prepared on the fly when you don't have a good feel. When it comes to, when I go to Florida, my hand swells. I don't use nearly as much tape. When I come back home to Michigan, it feels like I have 20 pieces of tape in the ball because of all the changes that happen. And some hands are sensitive than others, and you have to be prepared for that.
And we talk about feel. I'm a big tape person, so before every block, no matter where I am, the top piece of tape inside my switch grips is a brand new piece to give me that consistent feel. We talked a little bit about our skin protection tape.
Yep.
I use the beige. The beige is right in the middle. We have different textures. This one's right in the middle. This is the one that gives me the smoothest, cleanest release, and I seem to be able to use it everywhere, no matter where I'm bowling.
Yeah, and that's not, I sometimes use a beige, sometimes use this. Like I said, my hand goes up and down a lot. The most frequent one I use is the mint. The mint for me is a little grittier, keeps me in the ball a little longer. I hate the feeling of flying out of it. I always keep my thumb really tight. So the mint gives me the best opportunity to have that feel. Now, the most important part for me before getting into the tape is putting Gamer Grip on. So Gamer Grip is a tool that we have here at Turbo to, here, go ahead and put a little on there. It dries your hand out a little bit, makes it a little tackier. But for me, when my hands are really slimy, I can't get the tape to stick all the time. So Gamer Grip comes out, and now I don't have the issue because it dries my hand out, keeps it a little tackier, and then when I put the tape on right after, while it's still tacky, I generally don't have any problem throughout any event. And I bowl a lot of games in a day. There's times I'm going through 16 games, I'm not changing my tape. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing to have that because I hate the feeling of going through a lot of tape and wasting it. And so great tool to use for that. So what else we got?
Well, the other thing we want to have is the switcheroo to take those switch grips in and out, makes it a little more easy. Also a pair of scissors to get that tape inside the thumb hole because as we age, can't see as close. So it helps you take that tape in and out. And to go along with the importance of having the right bowling balls is your dry towel. That is the key to taking that surface oil off the bowling ball and giving you that consistent reaction.
Yeah, it's a little different for everybody how they use that though. For me, it's a very tedious process in my pre-shot routine. Dry towel is probably the most important part when it comes to making sure the oil's off my ball and going through the routine the same. Because the first thing I do is take the oil off the ball, but then I use the towel as a trigger to say, hey, I'm ready to throw this shot. So I almost forgot one thing.
Where are you going, Andrew?
One second. All right, so
hold, please.
When bowling's done, we talk about being prepared for the tournament, but we have to also prepare for the next event after that, right? Keeping our bowling balls in good shape. Strike wipes is the best for it. So this is our cleaning tool. You've used these, right? Mm-hmm. What do you like about them?
I like that they bring the tackiness of the ball back.
Yep.
So when you buy that bowling ball, if you notice, if you rub on the bowling ball, it has that squeaky sound. As soon as I'm done bowling, every time, because we bowl, as Andrew, we bowl a lot of games.
A lot.
I take one of the strike wipes and I clean 2 of my bowling balls and that tackiness comes back to life.
Yeah, and for those of you that bowl league, bowl high school, don't bowl as many games in one day, you can probably get one strike wipe through 3 or 4 bowling balls. Like for us, obviously, we have a lot more games on those couple bowling balls that we're using, so it takes a little more off the one strike wipe, but they're very convenient and very useful.
Excellent. Well, you heard it here. The bowling balls are very important, so make sure that you have a great selection. But we also have showed you that a lot of tools here in the old Turbo bag are going to allow you to perform to the best of your ability. Check us out at turbogrips.com.
Thanks, Carolyn and Andrew, for giving us those great tips. They'll continue bringing you tips and techniques each month here on Bowling Showcase, so you can keep up with the latest innovations. Time for another commercial break on Bowling Showcase.
Power, precision. This trophy is not given. It must be earned. The 2020 NCAA Women's Bowling Championship. April 10th and 11th at Thunderbowl Lanes in Detroit, Michigan. Visit ncaa.com/tickets to get your tickets today.
The hug pickup, the home run swing, the drum major high step, the genuine joy, the unforgettable party, the food, the friends, the original social network. No matter who you are, it's always a great time. Grab your family, find a friend, and go bowling.
Welcome back to Bowling Showcase. The MD USBC Senior Masters, it was a pretty high-scoring event, and we're happy to bring it to you from Mayflower Lanes in Redford, next on Bowling Showcase. "98 of the finest senior bowlers took to the lanes at Mayflower Lanes in Redford for the 2020 Senior Masters. This event is always a showcase for top-notch bowling in the state, and this year's event was no exception. During qualifying, scores were through the roof, with many bowlers coming close to perfect games, and one, Gary Schluchter of Fremont, Ohio, actually achieving it. Heading into match play, it was Bob Mishaw of Detroit who was the top qualifier with a 6-game total of 1482. Robert Sloma of Jenison qualified fourth with 1474, including a high game of 279. In match play, he won his first match against Bo Gergen of Sanford, 435 to 385. He then fell into the losers bracket when he was beat by Peter Kazmierczak of Warren, 425 to 404. Once in the losers bracket, Sloma beat Bill Froberg of St. Joseph, 471 to 439. Then defending champion Bill Kazmierski of Pinconning, 495 to 424. Michael Snow of Windsor, 465 to 421. Bo Gergen for the second time, 443 to 412. And finally, Larry Wilson of Detroit, 500 to 485 to move into the championship match. Kazmierczak, he qualified fifth with 1459 and a high game of 298. He stayed in the winner's bracket all day long with victories over Michael Hart of Farmington Hills, 493 to 439, Sloma, 425 to 404, Steve Kenyon of Grosse Ile, 479 to 469, and Larry Wilson, 458 to 387, as he waited for a challenger to emerge from the losers bracket. So the final championship match was all set, with Robert Sloma facing off against the man who dropped him into the losers bracket earlier in the day, Pete Kazmierczak. This being a double elimination tournament, Sloma had the daunting task of beating Kazmierczak twice to claim the title. But Sloma, he was undeterred and went into the matches carrying the confidence and good bowling he displayed all day long. Kazmierczak bowled well, but seemed to have trouble with those pesky 10 pins, not letting him match Sloma for strikes. After the first game, Sloma carried a large lead into the second game, and Kazmierczak couldn't make up the difference. So after handing Kazmierczak his first defeat of the day, the two men moved into the final decisive two-game championship match. This one was competitively a closer series, but it was clear that Sloma could not be beat on this day and ended up winning the 2020 MD USBC Senior Masters title with a final two-game victory of 555 to 465.
He had a great look when he first put me in the loser's bracket. And, you know, that was in the back of my head. You know, it's how is he going to match up with me? He was bowling well all day long. Hats off to him. But he lost a little bit of his look, and mine got a tad better, and I just basically stayed with it. Highlight of my career right here. I've been bowling really, really good this year, and flat out, this is tops. This takes the cake.
Now, even though Larry Wilson of Detroit didn't make it to the championship match, he did make a spot in history with his second match of the day against Troy Stuss of South Lyon when he shot a perfect 300 followed by a 278 for a two-game total of 578. Also on this day, Harry Sullins of Chesterfield won the Super Senior competition for non-qualifiers 60 years of age and older. He defeated Eddie Mintz of Canton 216 to 194 for the title. Congratulations to first-timer Robert Sloma on his comeback win. You know, once you fall into the loser's bracket, it makes for a long day, but well worth it. The Bowling Showcase Adult Challenge, that continues next week, and even though the Super Bowl, that was earlier this month, we'll be at Super Bowl, the Bowling Center, soon for the Super Bowl region. Remember, watch for us every Saturday at 10 a.m. on WADL Detroit with Bowling Showcase. If you happen to miss an episode, don't worry, you can catch it on our Bowling Showcase channel on YouTube.com. So connect with us on Facebook or email us at bowlingshowcase@gmail.com. We're interested in your feedback. We'll see you next time on Bowling Showcase.